Is there anything that you like specifically broke for freebooters? Like, is there anything that you were looking at and being like, I don't want to do this way. Fuck that. Like, because for me, like when I'm shooting, like not as much anymore, and it's probably I think you're probably on the same level of writing as I am on shooting. So it's not nearly as much anymore, but it used to be that I was like, oh, I want to do this. Ah, fuck, I can't do that. Oh, wait, yes, I can. Of course I can. Nobody's stopping me. No one's putting a fucking gun to my head and telling me I can't do this. And then you stop thinking about, like, not having to not do that. And then you just do it. But you just always have the foundation in mind. Is there anything like that for you and freebooters at all, or no? I mean, you put down like a fucking 100 pages on that, right?
Yeah. And way more hours and time on working on everything in terms of the promo and whatnot. It just came down to like me seeing so much shit on television or in cinema or whatever that I didn't like or I couldn't relate to, and I just wanted to make something that I knew that would make me laugh, because I figured there had to at least be a few other people with my same kind of sense of humor or interest in line, you know?
Yeah.
And I just wanted like that free, you know, art form that just it was just about really making myself entertained, you know? And I felt like as long as I did that, like maybe some other people would be entertained as well. And I just wanted to not worry about the whole like producer side of things and the whole like we got to make this way and blah 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 blah. Like it was just a totally like freeing, independent, individual kind of self exploration in that sense, you know.
Yeah.
And that's what it was all about.
And no rules really broken or anything like that, just like that you could think of, because I don't know what any writing rules are. Like, not to list them off or anything like that, but ones that actually applied to what you guys were doing, or no? Hey, if no, that's cool, but...
No, I mean, I guess in, like, there was, like, one big one where I guess, so, like, the main writing principle is, like, the hero's journey, right? You know, it's, like, a 10-step thing where, like, the hero leaves his ordinary world, then he goes out and something happens to him, and now he's changed, and then he's got to go back and find what he can to overcome this conflict and all this shit, and then it concludes and whatever, and he's come out a changed and different person. So my immediate reaction was, like, as much as I appreciate the hero's journey, and I think it works in, like, a lot of things, like, it's perfect and beautiful, I was like, I don't want any part of that for our story, because... our thing is, we're writing a story about ruthless asshole pirates. So, I want them to be set in their way. Like, before we even wrote episode 1, I talked with Tim, and this was, like, one of the things that we were both very mutually agreeing on, was, we're like, alright, so, this is a scenario. There's a dystopian universe. We have these anti-hero pirate protagonists, and somehow, they're gonna make everything better, but what's important going against the quote-unquote hero's journey is it's not because of anything that they found enlightened or they changed or I don't want any fucking progression. It's just it was coincidental, you know, because that's what I thought was humorous in it, you know, is like the normal situation is, oh man, we don't care about things and we don't care about whatever, and like, oh, there's horrible shit going on, we should rise above our own, you know, weaknesses and conquer this evil to make everything better. And be like, wouldn't it be a lot funnier if just, like, they succeeded in doing that because it benefited them? You know, for selfish reasons, not because of any heroic thing. So I'm like, fuck the hero's journey. Like, they're going on their own fucking journey, and it involves them finding glory, and coincidentally, the quote-unquote villain gets in their way. So they have to fuck over this villain because the villain's in their way. Not because, the villain's harming innocents. They don't give a fuck about innocents. So from episode 1 to the finale, they don't ever give a shit about innocence. So I think that was the main thing that went against the grain, was like, you have to take, if you are starting out with an anti-hero, you have to make him somewhat heroic at the end. And I was like, no, that's not what we're doing. We're not getting paid either way, so might as well do something that I think will be cool. And I thought it'd be cool if it was just a coincidence that they became good guys.
If you did an origin story of each one of the each one of the crew and all, then do you think that you'd have to imply the hero's journey then? Like, someone's like, holy shit, I just read Freebooters, here's $8 million, write some more shit about Freebooters.
I actually already did origin stories.
Did you really?
Yeah. Because we also...
I'll take my $8 million back now, please.
No, we like this idea of, cross-median art or whatever. Because we wanted to, get people who are musicians and all this stuff to just create original content, and it would just all be copacetic, And so we decided, all right, all this stuff that we wrote would be great for, on camera. So now let's write a novel that would be, the prequel, that would be before everything happens.
Right.
And so we created that, and basically, I guess the only, there's, a couple characters who do have some bigger arcs in that, I guess, that are more, gray or ambiguous. But, the main thing and the most important thing to me was, the main protagonist and the main heart of the story was, the captain. And still, even in the prequel, he's as much as a fucking dick as he is in episode 1 as he is in the finale. He's just a fucking asshole. And, yeah, I think actually in, the prequel, I think it was that he was the captain of a ship, of a different ship.
How long has it been since you read this?
Oh, man. It's been probably 6 months at least.
Yeah.
I know we wrote it after we finished the original series, and we're like, oh, let's come up with an origin story. And then, I came up with it in literally, a 48-hour period.
Seems to be how you tend to, do shit and how you tend to write shit.
I knew these characters so well, I'm like, all right, well, I know this is what happened to them beforehand.
Yeah.
My friend's like, how? Yeah, I'm like, because these characters, came up with them, they're part of me,
right, Right.
And so, the captain, who's a complete asshole scumbag, was also a captain of another ship, and he was such an asshole and this asshole builds into later in the story where he's, so paranoid about mutinies and stuff, is because the original ship he was a captain of actually had a successful mutiny against him and abandoned him somewhere
on a planet and just flew away.
Yeah. And then he came back and killed his whole entire old crew except for this one guy who lay dormant, and then he realized he's shit, I just killed this entire crew of my ship, but I actually don't know how to fly my ship because I don't have those skills. So now he's there, after he killed everyone, and he's in this floating thing, and then this guy surfaces, and this is the the pilot, right, of the regular ship, and he's like, oh no, I know how to fly this thing, man. And then he's like, who the fuck are you? And he's like, well, I was their drug dealer. So it's it kind of the former crew's drug dealer, then becomes the pilot of the new ship, and then they meet other people along the way, and then it feeds in the rest of the story.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. I'd like to read that. That'd be fun.
Yeah. So, but basically, the most important takeaway from that was he's a dick from the beginning of the show, and he was a dick before the show, and then at the end of the show, he's also a dick.
So not a lot changed.
No, for that one character.
Not a ton,
other things.
Not a ton of character development. There is a lot of character development for people who I never like put much thought into. Like, and they pop out and they're just like, holy shit. And there's some good writing in there for that. But no, not for him.
No, and that's what the thing is, like, I do like stupid writing when it's done well, you know? But I think when you create a world, when you create other characters that are more dynamic, more believable, more like, okay, this is a real situation, and then you put in this fucking asshole into that believable real world, then that's a lot more impressive and entertaining. But if the whole thing's just bullshit, then, you know, whatever, you're not even connected in it, you know?
Right.
But that was my point, where it's like, I want this one guy to just totally be an asshole, but everything else to be, you know, relatable. That's what we attempted, at least. And I don't know. Maybe I'm a sexist douchebag afterwards, but
No, I think you are. Yeah, that's my.
No,
thought
I think I'm just ignorant and stupid.
I think you're funny.
I have no intention of being mean or abrasive.
Mm-hmm.
I just happen to succeed at that because I'm so fucking stupid.
Give yourself some credit. You made a damn good couple. You'd made a damn good season of screenplays. So
Yeah.
give yourself some credit.
Well, every asshole's good at something once, right?
No,
Even a broken clock.
that's the saying.
Right. A broken clock is right twice a day. Yeah, that's it.
I saw you
Right?
put some thought into that.
That's terrible that I had to put thought into that. That's like a regular expression, and I had to think about it.
Well, you did have a big bottle of wine. I did get a response back from one of the chapters that I wrote down, or I wrote in the book, and one of the things that came back was, well, I don't know if like you reference this movie or you reference this thing in this chapter, and I don't think like everybody's gonna get that. And I was just like, you know what, I'm okay with like understanding that not everybody's gonna get it, and it's not gonna, but it's not gonna be for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
If I make Lord of the Rings reference or something like that, not everyone's gonna get it, but a few people will. But does that stop somebody from enjoying the process? So that made me start thinking about writing from an example from kind of where your standpoint at. How important is it to you to let your audience in on a secret that's happening? Not even a secret, but a reference that they may or may not know about. Like, is that important to you at all? Or is it enough for you to put it out there just so you can kind of laugh to yourself?
Yeah, no, I think it's dependent. Like, I'm not gonna do something just like I'm not gonna be like an M. Night Shyamalan where I'm gonna try to like just trick the audience just for like the sake of it, you know.
Right.
Like I do think it's great to come up with ideas and stuff that keep the audience guessing, but you know, at the end it should serve, you know, the storyline or the characters, you know, and that should what be like. I think in terms of twists and in terms of like seeing something going in a direction that maybe initially you didn't, one of my favorite movies is have you seen this movie, is Moon.
Yeah, you actually recommended that to me, and I love that fucking movie.
Yes. Okay, and what I love most about that movie is not only did Sam Rockwell give a fucking amazing performance where he's two of the main characters in the fucking film, but what I loved about that movie was that the twist, the M. Night Shyamalan twist, if you will, came at like the beginning of Act 2, right? So it's like, It wasn't like, oh, the movie ends, here's the twist, let that sit with you. It's like, no, there's a twist, and now we're going to explore how this development affects these characters, which I think is way more fucking fascinating. Like, don't create a story or a script or whatever that's going to, like, it's just all about like giving you what you don't think's gonna come or whatever. I think it's far more interesting if like it's cool to create a twist or create something that the audience may not expect, but like have that come in the beginning, and then what's far more interesting is how that situation affects the character.
Hey, this is Matt. I'm going to go ahead and stop this episode right here. If you have not seen the movie Moon, it's about to get spoiled. So go ahead and make sure you either pause this episode, come back to it, or check out a different episode because don't want to ruin that one for you. Back to the show.
And that's what Moon was about, right? It was like this whole idea where like, oh, he has this clone, and it's not like that came in at the end. It's not like, oh, the end of the movie you realize he's a clone. It's like, no, you realize like 15 minutes in the movie he has a clone, and then the whole rest of the movie is him dealing with the fact that he has a clone. And that, to me, is far more intriguing than just being left with, he's a clone, the end. You know, like...
Yeah, well, I mean, there's usually some resolution with that final problem, that final little last thing that's thrown in there, but, like, to completely shift the timeline like that, I thought that was badass. Dude, when I saw Moon, I watched Moon and Primer in the same night. Have you seen Primer?
I did see Primer, yes.
Oh my god, dude, that was fucking amazing.
Yes.
Same director put out another movie, and I can't remember what it was called. It's something about color. Shit, I can't remember what it is. But anyway, I got to watch those two in the same night, and the fact that they made Primer for like, what was it, like $6,000 or something like that? $6,000 or $7,000, I think it was.
Yeah,
it was like shit.
No,
like,
that was,
and the camera work itself, or the camera work is fine itself, but the you can tell like what they were recording it on was just sucked.
Yeah, it was just like they like set up a camcorder or whatever, and I remember like watching that movie, and like I heard about it because someone suggested it to me, and I was like, okay, this probably be like, it's gonna look shitty, whatever. I'm gonna like reserve my opinion.
You don't care about the lighting anyway.
Yeah, so right. I don't even know what lighting is anyways. So I'm like, I'm gonna reserve my opinion and just, you know, experience the movie. But like the first like 5 or 10 minutes, I'm like, I just couldn't get past the fact that it looked like a whole movie in a sense. I'm like, yeah, man, this is what do people see in this? And then after like it got past like, you know, the pinnacle like conflict, and then like you understood what the movie was about and stuff. And then I loved the movie because I was like, first off, they created something where like I didn't even see coming.
Yeah.
Which was funny because like the movie seemed so predictable at like a budget standpoint or at like any other standpoint, where it's like, I know where this shit is going. And then it went somewhere like I didn't expect going. And then like the storyline just progressed and stuff, and I was like, all right. This is now I understand why people recommended this movie to me. You know?
Yeah.
And then I felt like an asshole.
Yeah. But it's a damn good story. I mean, like, even though I'm on the other side of things, I'm on the, like, camera side of things and stuff, and you're on the writing side, like, I still think that, and I think the majority of the population thinks as well, that you can have, like, shitty camera equipment, you can have shitty lighting, but give me a good story. Yeah. It's like we're still looking out for that one story, because even movies that are done, like, that are written shitty but have like amazing CGI, or just like even amazing for what it would have been 10 years ago. Like, think about Sharknado. Sharknado came out 10 years ago. Like, and they made it the way they made it now, so the technology was kind of further ahead. But people like weren't expecting to see something like that. It would be like, holy shit. Like, this movie was absolute dog shit, but did you see the CGI of this? This is amazing. But, like, aside from great leaps, people are just looking for the story. They still just want the story, which I think is cool, and I agree with that. But that's kind of weird that I agree with that, even though I'm on the other side of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I agree for the most part, but I feel like a lot of times people get tripped up, like, easily beforehand, where they'll get settled into story because they like the story, quote unquote, but it's not necessarily a good story. And one example, and I'm still pulling for her, I think she'll come through ahead. She just needs like more episodes in, and she'll be set. But one of my coworkers, she's like so she likes a lot of the shows that I really like. So that's why like I was like, all right, she'll be onto it, right? So she likes, Walking Dead. She likes Breaking Bad. She likes Game of Thrones. So I suggested what is pretty much known as one of the greatest television series of all time, The Wire. Have you seen The Wire, by the way, Matt?
No, I haven't. I haven't watched any
You
of
should
that.
fucking watch it. Okay? So this will be as much of a talk.
Isn't it based in Baltimore?
It's
as well?
based in Baltimore, and not only that, okay, a lot of the characters or the cast that they hired to play drug dealers were actually real life drug dealers, and then a lot of the characters that they cast to play the cops were actually real life cops who happened to apparently arrest some of the drug dealers
The same guys
that were like playing those parts. And the story was written by cops. So that's why it's like one of the most true and real authentic crime shows is because it actually was written by cops, not fucking Hollywood or whatever. Or at least that's the rumors and the stories I've heard. I don't know if any of that's true.
The only other show I'd ever heard of doing something that was like that close to reality and all was, I think it was like Chicago PD or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like then they put that out, and then they started doing stuff that was like you're really copying off some events that like actually happened and everything. And then they started like kind of like poking the governmental system in Illinois, being like, this corruption that everybody knows is happening, we're exposing that right now by doing it in a TV show form.
Oh, yeah.
And I heard that they had gotten quite a bit of backlash from that.
They did all that and more with The Wire. It was insane, the shit that they exposed on that show. So it was like season 1 just started out with the basic cops like trying to expose the drug dealers and like setting up their wire, right? And how there's like all this bureaucracy with like the the lieutenants and whatever, the chiefs and stuff who were like just trying to keep things more simple, right? They're like, we're not trying to like solve crimes, we're just trying to keep like a good statistics or what have you. And so they were like opposing it. And there's this one of my favorite characters in like TV is this character McNulty, who's like again, The Wire is an ensemble cast, so to say like he's one protagonist is kind of false, but he's one of the main characters, right? And he's like this Irish cop who's just a piece of shit in all aspects of life. Like he's a drunk, he's an adulteress, whatever. He's a piece of shit, but he has one redeeming quality, and that is he's actually a good cop. Like, he cares about, getting the bad guy and all that, like, that stuff that you see on TV where you're like, this is what the hero does. But then you realize on The Wire, it's like, that's not how it exists in real life. Because there's all this bureaucracy, there's all this shit about, like, money, funding, whatever, and they're like, no, we don't have time to work on this case, we gotta close down The Wire. But, like, McNulty's, like, trying to, like, no, we got to go after this guy, and it's really interesting. But what I really loved about the show is every season was kind of like almost its own show because it had its own focus. It was like season 1 was just like basic cops versus the drug dealers, right? And then season 2 was all about how did the drugs come into play. It was about the docks of Baltimore. It was about the drugs coming.
So it was kind of like Dexter in that way, that they kind of like set up every season had was a new chapter. Whereas
but even
a lot of shows will just be like, well, it's just continuing on from what happened. But it's like, no, there's a difference from going from a chapter to a chapter.
Yeah, and it even went even farther than that though, because like Dexter still had Dexter, whereas this had an ensemble cast. And by the time you got to like season 4, you had 10 main characters who were fully fleshed out and fully developed and fully like gray, and you know, like they're good or bad or whatever. And my actual favorite season, so there's I think there's 5 seasons of The Wire, and my favorite season is season 4, which is like kind of peculiar because normally a really, really good show, you know, it's like kind of slowly goes downhill, right? They like run out of ideas or whatever. So it's like amazing that season 4 of a show is its best season, to me at least. And that's
it's like band albums that come out, like they kind of steadily step away from kind of like what they were about, and they start taking more suggestions, and they forget why they were doing it to begin with.
Yeah,
or like any other art form at all.
And this show like really dug deep in its roots in season 4 because it was about, so like the whole undertone was, you know, crime and the underbody of Baltimore and whatever. Mm-hmm. And so season 4 was, the primary focus was on the school and the kids, and it focused on this one demographic, whereas like some of the kids had a chance to get out of the life, and some of the kids, their only chance was if they wanted to make it, if they want to like support and help their family, they were going to become drug dealers, you know? It wasn't because they thought it was even cool or they wanted to do it. It's like it was a necessity. And so it was like season 4 was all about the analysis of how does this horrible criminal drug world, you know, keep cycling itself in. Like, how does it keep happening, you know? And it really got down to the root. Whereas like season 1 was just about the drug dealers that already existed, and it's about the cops creating the Wire and to like get the you know, lead on them. And then season 2 was the docs, how did the drugs get into the Baltimore? Yeah. And then season 3 was about like the drug war between the gang that was already established and then this new gang that was coming up. But then season 4 was the whole drug world in itself. Like, how did that come to be? And it's like the kids starting out in poverty who had nothing else to go for, you know, and that was their only choice. And it's just, I think it's the greatest show that's ever existed.
What?
One of the greatest shows that ever existed. I'd probably put it tied with Battlestar Galactica. So the only reason why I'd say that, personally, like story-wise, character-wise, I think they're tied. I think they're both like equally amazing shows. The only reason why I would push The Wire more is because I think it's like, as much as I hate to admit, it's more accessible to people, you know, because Battlestar Galactica is, you know, it's sci-fi, it's, you know, well, it shouldn't matter because it's still good characters and it's good storylines, but it is.
But they named it Battlestar Galactica.
But they named it, you're going to masturbate alone and die by yourself. Galactica. Yeah, no. No, it's true. So, you know, it is what it is, but I just follow the good storyline. So for me, it's, you know, Game of Thrones, Walking Dead, Breaking Bad, The Wire, Battlestar Galactica, Deadwood is another good old HBO show, and then what was the one with Woody Harrelson and
Did you watch Boardwalk Empire at all, or no?
Oh yes, that was another one too. I really
like. Good?
I like Boardwalk Empire. Did you not watch that?
No, I didn't. I don't watch. Dude, I don't even fucking own a TV.
Dude, just
like for me, like honestly, it's like if I'm gonna be like fully creating films as much as I can't have time to watch like a ton of different films. I can't have time to, you know, sit down and watch a whole bunch of different shit because I gotta be working on other stuff. And sometimes that works, and sometimes it doesn't. But a lot of times, even if it's not film related that I'm working on, or not, it's usually related, like the book and all. But then it's at least moving me in that direction. By the way, I sent you one of those pictures that I did last night from that adventure shoot I went on. It was in Chinatown at the there's a Bruce Lee statue down there, but it just felt like it was cool like walking around Chinatown at like 2 o'clock in the morning because I saw like two groups of kids that were like shooting films in Chinatown, and that was really cool to see because it's like, yeah, you can't do it during the day. You have to make sure your shit takes place at night because if you're shooting during the day, then you're going to get caught and you're going to get fined for not having permits. And so you shoot it at night and you make your entire situation take place at night so you can pull it off. But that was funny to see. Anyway.
Oh, wow. That looks really fucking cool. So you took that picture?
Yeah. It was like Chinatown at like 2 o'clock in the morning.
Who's that guy like standing right there?
It's a Bruce Lee statue.
Oh, that's a statue.
Yeah, it's a Bruce Lee statue. So I thought it was really cool to juxtapose like the. Now I'm gonna show my true colors here. It's cool to like juxtapose like the money from the shitty fucking ATM that looks like you're gonna get HIV if you touch it, and then the handicap parking because Bruce Lee had the whole spinal breakage thing.
Ah.
So,
but why?
It was good.
No, I was saying like it just looks like an arbitrary like alley / parking lot. Like, why is there a Bruce Lee statue in this area? Like, it doesn't look like a prominent place, or it just seems random.
It's not, but it's the center. It's in Chinatown, so they just throw up statues wherever the fuck they want.
Okay.
They have this whole big shrine on the other side and everything. That's kind of cool. I almost took a picture of the front of Chinatown, or the entrance kind of to Chinatown, which is kind of cool because that's where Paul Walker and Vin Diesel kind of like got shot at in the first Fast and the Furious, and the two dragons like standing overhead. And it's cool because it's so much smaller and they make it look massive, and it's really not. It's like a very small kind of area, the intersection itself anyway. But yeah, so I went out and I took those and everything, and I don't know, I think that it probably brought something back for filmmaking that I hadn't really thought about before. It just helped me to see shit in a new light. But it was a damn good exercise to do, and I'm definitely going to do it, at least on like a monthly or bi-weekly basis. I mean, I'm too fucking busy to do it like daily, and I'm still too busy to make sure I'm able to do it weekly, but bi-weekly I can pull that off. And I think that having kind of a place to kind of vent out everything that you can't do immediately, because even photography is immediate to me. Like after you get into film, you just realize like everything in the world just happens really quickly. Or it feels like that way anyway. And with photography, it just feels instant, But I don't know. So, is there anything that you could do that's like that? Like, because it wasn't a nostalgia thing. It was going back to our roots of something, but it wasn't a nostalgia thing. Like, what would that be for you?
Like going back to the roots of something?
Yeah, like to try to remind yourself like why you kind of fell in love with that to begin with. Like to remind yourself why you fell in love with writing by doing what? Is it maybe it's shooting for you or shooting with friends or
it's really just like probably just like bullshitting, bullshitting with friends and coming up with like ideas that don't necessarily seem like they're breaking the mold or that they're, really great, like, oh man, this is gonna be the next big thing. It's just coming together with one or two or however many people and creating an idea or a story along an idea that's about something that at least gives us entertainment,
Yeah.
Because that's really, like, all you can hope for. It's like a lot of things, a lot of shows, a lot of movies, whatever, they'll start out at some place and, like, maybe they'll take you somewhere where, you enjoy the ride, you enjoy the experience, and then it just becomes, like, a letdown. So, like, we just try to create, like, I don't know, even if it's just like scene by scene, you know, like I just want to create like entertaining events or whatever, you know.
By writing or by shooting or by what?
Well, hopefully by everything, but
Yeah.
starting out by writing, yeah.
So you have to have the full thing. Like there's like you start out with writing, you start out with the basic, the true foundation and all of everything else, and everything else in filmmaking, because that's really what it is. And then so there's really nowhere else you can go backwards from there. You can't be like, yeah, there's really nowhere else. Like the only thing that comes before writing is the thinking.
Mm-hmm.
So to be able to be like, I like to think about stuff, and that's what just like jogs my fucking jollies or whatever. I don't know.
Well, I hope that just like the dialogue alone, you know, takes the story where it needs to go, and that like hopefully I did justice to the characters that I had in mind, and that, you know, they can tell the story for themselves. Because like when I like look back at hindsight and I'm trying to like retell something I created, you know, I gotta do a fucking shit job at that. You know, it's like I created the story in the moment. You know, like I created these characters in the moment, and the plot happened, the conflict happened, and you know everything fucking happened. You know, and now like I can't like retell everything. Like I can try to, but you know it's always gonna be just like in a nutshell. You know, and so I don't know.
So would you rather pass your shit off to somebody else to do it, or what? Like, would you rather even... So you get you either have absolutely no hand in it whatsoever, or you have to direct the whole fucking thing. What do you do? Go.
Yeah, both those options suck to me, at least. I mean, I definitely would like to have some part of it, at least if it's something that, you know, like I truly actually cared about, you know, something that like I wrote, you know. But like when it comes to like directing something, seems to be a lot more at play than just the story alone. You know, like I don't know, you're picking the actors, you're controlling the actors, the scenery, the shots, everything, like the style, everything. I don't know, part of me I feel like I could be a good director, but another part of me would kind of just like to pass it on to someone else. I think I would like to have a director that could like take the reign and like could take control, but would like listen to like my feedback if I you know, if he had...
So you'd want to be an executive producer, basically.
Yeah, like he had something that like really went against what I had in mind, you know.
Yeah. To be able to say.
Yeah, so I would at least have a say, but I guess that's all I would want, is like to at least have a say. But otherwise, in terms of directing, I would like to leave it up to someone else, probably.
Yeah. Give me some fucking homework. I'm gonna give you something too. But like, I think we should start, if we're gonna like expand our knowledge, kind of into other areas and stuff like that, which I think is a damn good reason to have a podcast. Not that that's the only thing we're going after here, but like if it was a byproduct, that wouldn't be a bad thing. So like for you, I would say go out and instead of writing a story first, like write a short, like a 2-page story, like a really short story, and like in the next 2 weeks. But go out and shoot some photos, and then create a story based off of those photos. Would you be down with that? I know we're just coming up with it while we're on air, but whatever.
Yeah, no, I'm down for it.
Okay, cool. If you got something for me, shoot. Or if you got something later, let me know. But I think that'd be kind of cool to do for each other.
I don't have an overall project. I have just like a general concept for you.
Okay.
Watch The Wire.
Fucking seriously, I knew that was what you were going to say. General concept, okay.
Just watch
All right.
it, man. So here's the thing, like, it starts out slow, because as I was, like, getting back to, like, my coworker who we did the Game of Thrones draft or death pool with. She admitted, she's like, I gave this a try because you recommended it, and I guess she put some stock into like, what I think's good. But she's like, I kind of find it boring right now. But she's only like 1 or 2 episodes in, and I'm like, you know what? I felt the same way at first, but that's one of those shows that it's like, I don't know. It's worth the investment. That's all I can say.
That's funny because it's like you could have the same conversation about heroin, like from a heroin addict. To someone who's not on it. It's like, I don't know. I tried it once. Apparently, it's supposed to be the best thing ever, but I tried it once. I just wasn't into it. I wasn't. Well, give it a few more tries, and then you'll be really hooked on it.
Hey, you know what? The way I look at it is, you could be hooked on good shit or you could be hooked on bad shit. And I'm trying to hook people on good shit. So, there it is.
Then let's take this week and go make some really good shit.
Yeah.
All right.
Good shit inspires good shit.
Plato.
I think you said that.